Hello everybody, this is ACHAI Akaya, and we are in yet another tutorial for the challenge missions in the single player portion of StarCraft 2. This particular mission is called Psionic Assault, and it is the second of the advanced missions, and basically you're given a small task of Protoss troops basically containing sentries and High Templars, and you have to hold off wave after wave of attacking units with only a handful of your own units. And of course, you have limited amounts of energy, so you need to figure out the best way to utilize that energy between your sentries and High Templars, of course. But anyways, just going to walk you through basically the strategy that I used to get over that 225 kill mark, which is really difficult to do sometimes. But anyways, this is one of the more challenging missions, at least I thought so. But I'm not a Protoss player, so perhaps that's why, because I really had an easy time with all the Zerg missions. And then, of course, I struggled with the Protoss ones. But anyways, just walking you through this real quick. The first option, or the first group of units you go against anyways, is going to be a bunch of Zerglings. I just hallucinate 2 Archons, and then you can basically just attack move with your 2 hallucinated Archons and all of your sentries. And the sentries should take out all of the Zerglings before they can get through those Archons. Which, will give you, it conserves as much energy as possible without having to worry about, losing any units or anything like that. Now, the next set of units, I believe, is infantry here. So we use the same, it's just a handful of Marines. So basically using the same strategy except for adding a Psystorm in the mix. Grab the 2 hallucinated Archons along with your sentries, attack move, and then throw down a Psystorm right on top of all those Marines, because the Archons that were hallucinated will be a little bit low in health, so you want to make sure that that Psystorm takes them out before they get through those hallucinated Archons. Now in the third round here, hallucinate 2 more fresh Archons, so that they have plenty of health here, and then going to do basically the same thing, attack move and then throw down a Psystorm. And if you place the Psystorm properly on the Hydralisks, you should be able to finish the Hydralisks off with your sentries without too much problem. And as you can see, the sentries were able to take out the Zerglings before both of those hallucinated Archons were killed, and then that Psystorm weakened up the Hydras enough that there was 1 Archon left that was hallucinated, and then the sentries could take it down. Now hallucinating 2 more Archons here, so now I have a total of 3 hallucinated Archons. Once again, going to use those as my meat shields. And then the Terran Infantry, again, coming, but it's got 1 Marauder in the mix, but still going to use the same basic attack pattern here. Attack moving with the hallucinated Archons, and then the sentries, and then just throwing down a Psystorm and letting the sentries clean up the rest of whatever survives now. After that, you will run into Zerglings and Banelings, and I believe there's also a Roach in the mix here. But basically what I do for this is put down a wall of force fields and then throw down another Psystorm. So putting down 3 force fields there, attack moving with the sentries, that'll allow you to get a few free hits on these while they're stuck behind the wall. And then grabbing a High Templar to throw down a Psystorm, that will take down just about everything. And then anything that it doesn't take down, your sentry should have no problem finishing off before that force field wears off. After that, once again, hallucinating 2 more Archons. The reason I hallucinate the Archons is because they can tank a lot of damage, and all the hallucinations cost the same amount of energy. So that's just the easiest way that I found in order to tank a little bit extra damage without actually losing any units. But 2 more Archons in the front, and then once again, going to use the attack move and then throw down another Psystorm. So once they come up the ramp here, throwing down another Psystorm. 1 Psystorm should be able to take out all of the Marines, and then just basically focus fire down the last 2 Marauders, which once again, your Archon should be able to pretty much tank all of that damage, and then your sentries not going to take any. Now after this round, you'll notice there's going to be some units coming from the bottom here. This first set of units is very easy to deal with. I believe it's just a bunch of Zerglings and Banelings once again, and I send 1 hallucinated Archon down on the bottom, actually just Zerglings only, and then the rest of the sentries going up on the cliff there, they have actually got pretty decent range, so they can shoot all these Zerglings, or laser them, or whatever that attack is called, while they're coming up the ramp and everything. And you can see I did hallucinate another Archon there. You can do that if you want to, or if you want to try to micro your sentries a little bit better, you can do that. But the next round is a little bit more difficult. There are Zealots and sentries, which are tougher to take down than Zerg units. Basically what I do is cast feedback on all of the sentries. You can see 1 feedback easily takes down a sentry, so all you have to do is cast a feedback on each one of those sentries, and then let your Archons tank the damage on the low ground while the Zealots are there, and then you should be able to take out all of the Zealots without taking a whole lot of damage on your sentries. Now they're going to move back up to the top ramp, so once again you can see hallucinating an Archon there. to tank a little bit of damage here, and then bringing the sentries up to attack. Although primarily what you want to do here is get one good Psystorm off on the group of Reapers, and then that should take out pretty much every one of them. You can see I did take a few hits on one of my sentries there, but not a huge deal. And I am morphing an Archon. I think I accidentally morphed it out of two of the High Templars that actually had a decent amount of energy still. But anyways, nonetheless, at this point you should start running out of energy on your High Templars, and if you got two that are pretty low on energy, you can just go ahead and morph a real Archon, which is actually pretty good against some of the units in the later levels, specifically like the Mutalisks and stuff like that, or even Zerglings are very good against Zerglings. But here comes another round of units from the bottom. This consists of Banelings and Hydralisks, and now you can see I've got the first hallucinated Archon out in the front. That's going to tank all of the damage from those first few Banelings, and then that last Baneling should be able to get taken out before it gets to my real Archon there, and then casting one Psystorm on the Hydralisks, which weakens it up enough from my Archon and my sentries to just take it out without any problems there. And now coming from the top, there's going to be two Banshees, and you can just cast one feedback to kill a Banshee, so that's pretty easy. You just got to be quick to respond though, because there's not a whole lot of time between those two rounds, so just keep that in mind and be ready to cast that feedback straight away. Now, moving into the next round after that, once again, hallucinating one Archon and then taking my one real Archon up in front to really do the damage here. And then basically what we're going to do is attack move with the sentries again. And as you can see, pulling that Archon back a little bit. You want to try to let the units get up the ramp as much as possible. That way they're kind of choked up in that small area. But at this point, going against these four Stalkers, you want to make sure that the hallucination gets out in front there. And as you can see, they're focus firing the hallucination. And then basically just focus firing down each Stalker one by one between the attack from your real Archon and the sentries. You can see there was able to take out all of those Stalkers without taking any damage on my real units. And then there is another set of Reapers going to come down, getting the Archon in place to take on the Reapers, because Archons actually do pretty decent damage against Reapers. There are also Ghosts in the mix here though. And once again, you want to cast feedback on the Ghosts, because Ghosts are they have a lot of energy. So as you can see, one feedback again taking down a Ghost. And I did not cast in this particular round that I did not cast a second feedback on that other Ghost. I think I misclicked it. I intended to cast it, but didn't actually cast it. So that was unfortunate, but you can cast another feedback on that Ghost. And then here comes the Mutalisks. Unfortunately, I did lose my Archon, so I'm not going to have that splash damage, but I am hallucinating two Archons here. So basically just going to let them take the tank the damage and then do an attack, focus fire with my sentries to take down the Mutalisks. And as you can see, the Mutalisks doing a decent job of taking down my Archons, but by the time they actually get through the Archons, there's only 3 of them left, which 3 Mutalisks against this many sentries isn't really a fair fight. So, but if you can manage to keep your real Archon alive until then, that will be, 0 casualties, 0 damage taken. So that'll be a pretty easy battle if you can actually keep your real Archon alive and not just have to tank damage with your fake Archons. Now this one, once again, a little bit trickier. You want to get your sentries in place, get a good Psystorm off, and then get your fake Archons in place to tank some damage there, and putting down a second Psystorm there as well. If you can control your units well enough that the fake Archons, the hallucinated Archons, can tank the damage, you won't need that second Psystorm. But once again, I made a few mistakes here and there throughout this one, but this was basically the outline of what I use in order to get the gold level rating in this particular challenge mission. Now with the next one, the very top is where these destructible rocks are. There's a ramp, and there's first wave, there's going to be a bunch of Zerglings. Basically just split your sentries up on either side of these rocks on the ramp, and you should be able to take out all of those Zerglings without any problems. One thing you can do if you want to save a little bit more HP on those destructible rocks is cast some force fields around it to narrow the amount of surface area that they have to attack it. But anyways, the next wave of units coming up is going to be a handful of Roaches here. Now Roaches are actually pretty good against sentries, so you want to be careful about where your sentries are positioned. As you can see, I got mine a little bit too close there, losing one sentry. But then if you can pull them back a little bit, just outside of the range of the Roaches, your sentries slightly will outrange the Roaches, and then a 1 or 2 Psystorms should take those Roaches out without any problems here. As you can see, able to take down the rest of those without any issues at all. Now next is one Ultralisk coming down which the key thing with this Ultralisk is try to keep it off of the rocks as much as possible. For a second there, I forgot that Ultralisks actually negate force fields, so I foolishly tried to cast a force field. But as you can see, if you can get your sentries in the right place, the Ultralisk kind of glitches around a little bit and will try to come and attack your sentries from time to time, taking a break from attacking the rocks, and that will give you enough time to take down that Ultralisk before it can break through the rocks, which is what you really need to do. Now next, you got another wave of Banelings. And these Banelings can be really difficult to deal with if you don't have enough energy left for hallucination, so make sure you're careful with your hallucination. As you can see, one hallucinated Archon tanked most of that damage, and then the other hallucinated Archon was able to tank that last bit of damage from the one remaining Baneling after that. And at this point, we're at 223. The next round is 2 tanks, and basically you just want, at this point, you can go all out, cast whatever you want to make sure that you take down these 2 tanks, because that will give you that gold rating. Putting down 1 Archon on the low ground to take some damage, and then Psy-storming a couple times to take out that remaining tank. So basically, that is what I use. From then on, you can do whatever you want to. This next round is a mixture of infantry. It's got Marauders, Marines, and some Ghosts in there. And once again, feedback really good against Ghosts. But, I mean, you can just kind of play around with whatever you want to on the counters for the rest of this game and just try to basically rack up as much of a high score as possible. I believe I landed somewhere around 240 on this particular round. So, but yeah, just wanted to put this out there for you guys. I know this is one of the more difficult ones, or at least it was for me. So if you guys are struggling with it as much as I was, then hopefully this will be a much welcomed tutorial video to help you guys get a little bit higher and get a couple extra achievements in this game. But yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and let this finish out so you guys can kind of see what I did on these last few rounds here. But I believe I actually lose against these Hydras and Roaches, completely running out of energy on my High Templars to do Psystorm with. So getting a couple Archons up there, and then I do believe I threw, Guardian Shield there to help protect against all these ranged units. But there are just too many units for me to deal with at this point, especially without any Psystorms. So everything just disappears, and there's my last few units going down right there. Yeah, I did make it to 240, but that is about it. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to continue to do these challenge missions tutorials to help any of you out there that are trying to get those gold level achievements. And we'll see you next time. GG.